Canon has officially announced the EOS R5, Canon's flagship. Oh, hold on. Correction. They have announced the development of the Canon EOS R5, Canon's flagship mirrorless. That means they haven't released the full specs, but here's what we know so far, and it looks good. Really good. This video is brought to you by the Photo Enthusiast Network. Several years ago, I came together with several other professional photographers to launch what has become one of the best photography communities online. Photographers of all levels are welcome. We have hundreds of hours of training videos, including my complete Lightroom series, and this is what makes it great. The actual community. We interact with each other in helpful, constructive ways with several awesome options for getting regular feedback on your photos. And we partner with Bay Photo, and you can win monthly print. Right now, you can join for just $24 a year. Learn more at photorec.tv/pen. Here are the facts about the new EOS R5. We've got a new sensor. No megapixel specs provided yet, but because of the 8K video, it's likely that the sensor is somewhere in the 40 to 45 megapixel range. No word on dynamic range improvements, and this is an area that Canon has lagged slightly behind Nikon and Sony. We'll have to wait till we actually get it in hand. It will offer in-camera image stabilization, and this is where the sensor stabilized. Again, Nikon and Sony have offered this in their full-frame mirrorless. Canon looked a bit silly with the EOS R release, not providing IBIS, and this looks to correct that. Canon states that the IBIS will work with the lens image stabilization to provide additional stabilization. This could be significant, and it's similar to the way the Olympus system works, giving you some incredible stabilization, rock solid video, or really nice long, slow shutter speed handheld. It's also going to offer 20 frames per second with the silent shutter or electronic shutter. That's on par with the Sony A9, but what we need to know is how fast the sensor readout's going to be. Will there be rolling shutter in still photos for moving subjects? And we also need to know about the autofocus system. With firmware updates, the EOS R has certainly improved from when I reviewed it, but it's still not my top pick or first choice for sports or fast action like birds in flight. So how much of an improvement will we see? Enough to support reliable autofocusing tracking of moving subjects at 20 frames per second? I doubt it. It will offer 12 frames per second with a continuous mechanical shutter. Now, for comparison, the Canon EOS R does just 8 frames per second, and if you're doing continuous autofocus, that drops to 5 frames per second. It's a pretty significant drop. This reality check is probably going to be true with the R5 as well, though maybe without such a significant drop. And that 8K video. This is one of those you can't quite believe it numbers. This is a huge jump. Here is exactly what Canon said in their press release. From a video perspective, the camera's 8K video capture capability will prepare videographers for the future of movie making. Capturing 8K footage today allows for even higher quality 4K productions, in addition to the ability to extract high-resolution still images from the video footage. I have to believe there's some marketing stretching of the truth here. Could it just be time-lapse footage, as others have suggested, and that's what Nikon did with the D850? Or could it do 8K, but it's upscaled or cropped, or AF is disabled, or maybe it only does it externally? What do you think? I'd love to know your thoughts. Leave those in the comments right down below. And of course, we've got no word on formats or bit rate for video yet, but we do know it's going to have dual memory card slots, no word on type, SD cards, or maybe CF Express. And finally, Canon has announced this camera will support direct wireless uploading to a new cloud image sync service. Now that's all we know at the moment, but we do have a really good look at the body, which gives us a few more details and raises a few more questions. On the front, we have what is probably an assignable function button. This is not on the EOS R. And we have what looks like a little rubber flap covering a port. Leave your educated guesses of what that port could be in the comments below. As we move around to the side, we see all of the standard ports labeled, including the flash sync port, which is not on the EOS R. And the position of the mic and headphone jack is something we've seen before to support a fully articulated screen. This is big. Canon is calling this a flagship, and we have a fully articulated screen on it. This makes me happy. You know what else makes me happy? There's no multifunction bar. On the EOS R, it just wasn't a great design. Instead, we've got a standard joystick and a fairly typical Canon layout on the back. On top is a small setting display, and ditch the mode dial for a button dial combo to switch mode or settings. And that's it. That's all of the facts that we know. The camera is going to be shown at CP+, which is at the end of February in Japan, and WPPI in March. It's not known, and I mean, maybe in both of those cases, it might be behind glass. No official release date. The rumor is swirling around the July timeframe. The big question for me, the speed and reliability of the AF system. I reviewed the 61 megapixel Sony A7R4 in Mongolia last year. Its AF system is fast and keeps up with a 10 frames per second. I'm also curious to see what this 8K number really means. I am suspicious that the marketing folks have stretched this. And finally, price. They're calling this a flagship camera. These specs are impressive, and Canon has not been known for beating competitors on price, at least at release. My guess is body only at least $34.99, and if these specs are closer to truth, I think $42.99 is possible. I'd love to know your thoughts. You can leave those in the comments right down below, along with any additional thoughts you want to share about this camera. Canon also announced the T8i, minor updates to the T7i, but now you do have 4K, just no dual pixel autofocus when recording in 4K. They also announced two RF extenders, the 1.4 and 2x, and a 100 to 500 f.4 to 7.1 RF lens, and mentioned that they're going to release a total of 9 RF lenses in 2020. Clearly, Canon is now all in on mirrorless. If you appreciated this video, take a moment to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe along with clicking the little bell. That way you're going to be notified of future videos, and if nothing else, you can be reminded to come back and tell me how wrong I was on the price. And don't forget to check out Pen. Awesome savings right now. You can also subscribe for just 6 months, and you get to pick my brain about the best camera for you. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.